All right, it looks like everyone's here. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 4:34 p.m. And as always, we're going to start off with the territorial acknowledgement. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. We're now going to move on to roll call, starting with myself. Hello, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Said Lari. I am the Science Undergraduate Society's Council Representative and Chair of Council. My accessibility needs are met, and my pronouns are he, him, his. Starting off with archaeology.
Hi, my name is Clara. My pronouns are she, her, and my accessibility needs are currently met. Thanks.
Thank you. Bachelor of Environment. Bachelor of Environment. Biology.
Yeah, my name is Nick. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Thank you. BPK.
Hi, I'm Josh. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. Business.
Hi, my name is Monish. Pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you. Gwen. Chemistry.
Hi, my name is Gwen. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Computer science.
Hi, my name is Brian. My pronouns are he, him, his. All my needs are met.
Criminology.
Charlotte Taylor Bear, she, her, hers, all my needs are met.
Data science.
Michael Matthew, pronouns he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Earth science.
Hi, I'm Alex. My pronouns are they, them, and my access needs are met.
Economics.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
In education.
Hi, Adrienne, pronouns are she, her, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Engineering. Is the engineering rep present? English.
Hi, my name's Liz. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all of my access needs are met.
Environmental science. Is the environmental science representative present? French. GSWS.
Hi, I'm Devin, she, her, hers pronouns, and my accessibility needs are met. Thanks.
Geography. Is the geography rep present? History.
Hi, I'm Alan. He, him, his, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Thank you. Interactive arts.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Felix. He, him, his, or they, them, theirs, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Thank you. International studies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaliyah. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all of my access needs are met.
Thank you. Labor studies.
Hello, my name is Justin. He, him, his, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Linguistics.
Hi, my name is Bree Lim. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Mathematics.
Hi, I'm Ben. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Mechatronics.
Hi, my name is Kenya, she, hers, and all my access needs are met.
MBBSU.
Hi, my name is Kyle, he, him, and all my needs are met.
Operations research.
Hi, my name is Ash, he, him, his. All my accessibility needs have been met.
Philosophy.
Hi, my name is Tony, he, him, his. All my access needs are met.
Physics. Is the physics rep present? Political science.
Hey everyone, my name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Psychology.
Hi, my name is Tiffany. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my needs are met. Thank you.
Sociology. Sociology and anthropology. Statistics.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met, but I might have to leave around 5:30 today.
Thank you. Sustainable Energy Engineering Student Society.
Hi, I'm Maven, she, her, and all my needs are met.
World Literature.
Hi, my name is Gestalt, she, her, and all my access needs have been met. Thank you.
Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance.
Hi, my name is Serena. My pronouns are she, they. And for accessibility needs, if it's possible to turn on the automatic captions, that would be great. And also my internet is not that great, so I might drop in and out.
Oh, sorry about that. I must have forgotten to turn it on. I will do that just after attendance. FNSA.
Hi there, my name is Lauren, pronouns she, her, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you. Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
Hi there, my name's Ryan. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
SOCA.
Hi, my name is Juanita. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My access needs are met, but unfortunately I'd have to leave around 5:30.
Women's Center Collective.
Hi, my name is Nisha. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all of my access needs have been met.
Thank you. And now moving on to the board of directors, starting with the president.
Hi everyone, my name is Asaf. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And as of right now, all of my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. So our VP Student Services, not present. VP Student Life.
Hello everybody, I'm Jennifer, she, her pronouns. My webcam is just very zoomed in because it was very cheap, so sorry about that. All other access needs are met.
Thank you. VP University Relations.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. Any of our faculty representatives present?
Hi, my name is Poom, at-large representative, he, him, his, access needs are met.
Thank you. Right, I believe that's it. Let me just see if I can turn on the captions. All right, I think we're gonna just get into when the reports are happening, then I'll Google that because I just changed my computer over, so I can't seem to find where to put the API code in. We will move on to item 4. If anyone does need me to repeat or clarify anything, please let me know. Again, sorry about that, I will get that fixed. We are on to item 4, adoption of the agenda. Item 4.1. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Would anyone like to move this motion?
Economics moves.
Economics moves. Would anyone like to second?
History seconds.
History seconds. Is there any discussion? I'm going to move to amend the agenda to include a section after adoption of the agenda titled Ratification of Regrets with the following motion: be it resolved to ratify regrets from Ramsha Faruqi, Sarah Wong, and Mahek Khan. Anyone like to second this amendment?
Mathematics seconds.
Math seconds. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Don't think so. Going to move. Once again, I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute now. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries unanimously. We're back to the main motion, which reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further amendments to be made, we're now going to move to vote. Once again, I will seek unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent, if you'd like to dissent, please unmute yourself now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. We're on to the next item, ratification of regrets. Motion reads, be it resolved to ratify regrets from Ramsha Faruqi, Sarah Wong, and Mahek Khan. Would anyone like to move this motion?
FNSA moves.
Sorry, was that, could you repeat that?
Sorry, FNSA moves.
FNSA moves. Would anyone like to second?
Soka seconds.
Soka seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, move to votes. Seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. We're now on to item 5.1. Item 5, matters arising from the minutes. Motion reads, be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes. Council 2021, January 20th. Would anyone like to move this motion?
PSSU moves.
PSSU moves. Would anyone like to second?
History seconds.
History seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I will once again seek unanimous consent. So seeking unanimous consent on this motion. If you'd like to object, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. We're now on to item 6, report from the liaisons, starting with 6.1, council liaison. Ryan, you have the floor. In the meantime, I'm going to enable captioning.
Thank you. Okay, so January 3rd board meeting, a lot of housekeeping items, filing of minutes, the exchanging of the signing authority. So our transition manager will be leaving. So Lawrence's signing authority is going over to the operations officer. Doesn't really mean anything. New committee has been set up to find another agreement with the union because their previous deal has ended. That committee is pretty much just populated by existing board members. So I think it's like Corbett, VP Finance, President, VP External. I don't know. It's a committee made up by board members to find an agreement with the existing union. Small sum of money put forward for this year's new mode subscription, which is software that the SFSS uses. Another like $500 put forward to promote the gondola. And there was some discussion surrounding that, what problems we would face, how we should promote it on campus. A new fund has been set up in the budget. It's called the Social Justice Campaign Support Fund. And basically what this is when student groups or individuals come forward and want to have some kind of social justice campaign, instead of having to take from existing funds, which may not match their needs exactly, there is the new fund that's kind of just a blanket for all social justice campaigns. And so that would be for things like marketing, t-shirts, events, promotions. There's also a number of upcoming events. There is something, a joint between the SFSS, the GSS, and a teaching staff union. The events committee has a number of events lined up, and a notice of motion that Jen will probably explain because I don't really understand. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Ryan. On to item 6.2, board liaison.
Hi, yeah. So I have a document and there's 4 spicy memes on it. I got really hungry during this meeting, so I couldn't make more memes. So I would highly recommend clicking that document in the chat. It'll go over everything in more detail, but I'm just gonna go over the highlights. So the gondola, we basically need student voices there. There's going to be a meeting at Burnaby City Council on February 22nd. So we need more student engagement and kind of like show student support for the gondola. There's like a little gondola meme if you scroll down in the doc. Like Ryan said, we are setting up a social justice campaign support fund to set aside some money each year to help students run campaigns, but it wouldn't just be funding, it would be like helping students, like teaching them how to campaign more effectively, giving them resources and training. And then there was we talked about spring and summer emergency funding. This is like a bursary, like a COVID emergency bursary, similar to the one last year, except last year it was administered by SFU Financial Aid, and we just provided the money. But since they have like a GPA requirement and you have to be taking a 9-credit course load, we're looking at administering this ourselves. And we're looking at providing $500 per student, which would allow us to support up to 400 students per semester. For the notice of motion, I wasn't planning to talk about that, but I'm going to scroll down and find it.
Jen, I can talk about that a bit.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I guess that's all for my report, and Gabe might talk about it later.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to have to apologize here, guys. It doesn't seem like I'll be able to enable captions for this meeting. For some reason, the account is disconnected from our live captioning service. I will have that set up for our next meeting for sure. However, if there is anything that does need to be repeated or posted in chat, please let me know. And please feel free, if you want to, you can private message or you can put it in the chat, ask anyone to repeat anything. Again, sorry guys, error on my part. We'll be moving on now. Item 7, reports from the board executive directors. Item 7.1, VP Student Services.
Hi, Matt here. Is everyone able to hear me okay? Perfect. All right, okay, so I will give my update. So I hope everyone has had a, good couple first weeks of our semester. So what I'm working on right now, I really want to start like a digital media campaign push for our current services, especially being in the new semester. So I've contacted Sindhu and Sarah just to kind of get some background information and hopefully running stuff through all of our social media outlets on Instagram and also Facebook, just with like updated information, changes that have occurred, how to access certain information about what we already have, and kind of just doing that for the rest of the spring semester. I think that would be really helpful, making infographics and also kind of like a small digital timeline. And so also I've been on the board organizer hiring committee for the last little while. And then upcoming, I will be on the bargaining committee with our union, QP. I'm currently doing research on accessible mental wellness resources for students on areas which they live in. So these are just all kinds of different services, whether you're in Vancouver, Surrey, Burnaby, stuff that is around you, stuff that is accessible, what you can access just based on your needs. I've also been doing research on different apps and websites, stuff that is, low cost that you can download that. So hopefully there will be a document coming up in the next, month or so to kind of have this document finalized. Maybe it could be on the website. And then so updates from the Let Us Speak campaign. The fall, there was a lot of advocacy running through the Indigenous community. We received a lot of support with the Let Us Speak campaign. I think we got around 12 letters of support, all from different areas. It was really amazing. On January 14th, Office for Aboriginal People, and then also SFU University Admin set up a consultative meeting. Indigenous students were able to attend, And from there, this is just like the first step in like, the consultative process to properly engage Indigenous students about the First Peoples Gathering House. So from the petition, we received, almost 600 signatures. We're at 594 right now. So if you haven't signed it, please go sign it. I can send it your way as well. And if I have any other updates, or if I think of anything, that's kind of what I've been working on right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. VP Student Life.
Hello, it's me again. Sorry if you're sick of hearing my voice, but I will try to keep this short. So the Accessibility Committee, which I chair, is working on a few exciting projects. We're looking to promote the Accessibility Fund, which you can use to buy like captioning and ASL interpretation. So if your student group is hosting an event and somebody asks for captioning, you can use the Accessibility Fund. It's on the SFSS website. I'll link it in the chat later. We're also looking into creating an accessibility issues policy, which basically states SFSS's stance on accessibility and how we believe that every student should get equal access and universal design and all of that. And we also recently hired an accessibility assistant who will start next week, and she will be helping us with all of the accessibility related work. For SFSS Events Committee, right now our Instagram is we're posting like Black History Month resources and helping SFU SoCa promote their events. I'll link both Instagrams in the chat later. We're also hosting a Grey's Anatomy trivia night and a Valentine's Day, like an origami rose making / card writing workshop, and I will link those in the chat. And this is all available on the SFSS Events Instagram account, so you can find and share all the details there.
Thank you, Jennifer. VP University Relations.
Thanks, Zaid. Mine's kind of long, but I'm going to try and keep it to 5 minutes. There's a lot I want to talk about. So first of all, there's a lot that's been happening on the university relations front, so I want to start there. So firstly, a lot of work that I was focusing on in the month of January was around the new grading scheme that we've been pushing for, originally the pass-fail grading scheme. Many of you might have heard about the new pass credit, no credit grading scheme, but for those of you who haven't, due to student advocacy and a lot of collaboration between the board of directors and the student senate caucus, the SFU Senate approved in principle the implementation of a pilot grading scheme that's going to help bring a certain level of relief to students during the pandemic. I do recognize this is on the agenda later, so I'm not going to spend that much time on it, but we are cognizant of the fact that this grading scheme that was implemented doesn't quite reach the level of the original grading scheme that was used back in the spring. So we are hoping to work with individual departments and hopefully working with you as counselors to bring the advocacy of expanding the scope of the grading scheme to as many programs as possible. Nextly, the board became aware very quickly of Justin Trudeau's announcement that folks traveling back to Canada from abroad have to quarantine in approved government-approved hotels at their own expense. Immediately, we were quite concerned about the implications this would have for international students. And because of that, we're currently in discussions with SFU on lobbying efforts to make sure that international students aren't impacted by this travel policy, and looking at ways that maybe the existing program that SFU runs, SFU Cares, that's the name of the program. We're trying to determine if the government would include this on their list of approved hotels so that international students wouldn't have to pay $2,000 to stay in a government-approved hotel. We requested SFU that they include us in any lobbying efforts around this issue if possible. Furthermore, Asab and I, the president and I, have been continue to work with the university on the student affordability working group. We just completed 2 out of the 3 areas of affordability that we wanted to focus on, those areas being food insecurity and financial predictability. For food insecurity, we have compiled a list of resources on the SFU website for students who are experiencing food insecurity to really have a centralized location for students to find resources to combat this. Afterwards, I'll paste a link in the chat. On the financial predictability, we have an online calendar that's going up soon for students who would like to do more research on the costs associated with attending university and also overall living in the Metro Vancouver area. And lastly, on the university relations front, and Jennifer was talking about this, I think one of the most exciting recent developments is that Asab and I have been working on the latest installment of the Burnaby Mountain Gondola campaign. TransLink just completed 2 rounds of public engagement that mainly happened in the last semester, and they're now getting ready to send their findings to the Burnaby City Council, which inevitably is the body that gets to decide whether or not the gondola proceeds or not. Therefore, we are working on a campaign to increase enthusiasm around this campaign amongst the undergraduate student population. Hopefully, we can get to work with members of council here to encourage students to attend this council meeting and make sure that student voices are heard there and that this council makes the right decision. Again, I believe this is being I thought this was being discussed later, but I don't know if it actually made it on the agenda, but we can talk about it at future council meetings too. Hopefully, I'll talk to Zaid about that. Moving on to other areas that I'm focusing on are some projects I've been taking on as governance chair. So firstly, that policy that was being talked about earlier, we're looking at the policy changes looking at expanding the duties and obligations of committee chairs to foster greater accountability and communicating with committee members, being consistent and making sure that there is a good relationship between our support staff and committee chairs. A notice of motion for this policy has been given and is available on the SFSS website and will be voted on by the board on February 12th. Another policy that the governance committee is working on is developing what's called a consent agenda, which basically lumps a lot of the housekeeping items of the agenda that usually happen at the beginning of the meeting, like approving minutes and regrets to help make meetings go faster. This will be incredibly helpful, I think, for when council becomes the legal board of directors starting May 1st, 2021. Lastly, let me see if I can speed through this in 50 seconds, but a few miscellaneous items. The transition steering committee is starting to get up and running. Its 3 working groups are beginning to meet. My working group, the governance working group, is going to meet very shortly. Tomorrow, I believe. The training working group chaired by Corbett has met twice and has already begun brainstorming ways to implement new and effective training structures within the new council system. And the operations working group chaired by Asub is in the process of determining a meeting time as well. This will be discussed later, I believe. There's a discussion item on it. I'm also chairing a hiring committee for a new staff position that we're creating called the Student Advocacy Coordinator. And this coordinator is being put in place to help advocate on behalf of students who are in dispute of the university and are in need of representation. The job description just got hired and the posting will go out shortly. So that's it for my update. I realize I'm literally at 5 minutes, but my semester report is also completed and I believe that will be going on the website shortly. So if you have any questions or comments about any of the work that has been done in the previous semester or ongoing projects, let me know. Thank you, Zaid.
Thank you, Gabe. So that's it for our reports from executives today. Now on to item 8, new business, 8.1, Council Space Campaign Working Group. Motion reads, whereas Council passed a motion at its January 6th meeting to launch a space campaign titled #Students Deserve Space, whereas the motion called upon Council to write and deliver a joint letter to the respective faculties and departments of councillors who voted in favor. Be it resolved that Council strike a working group on drafting the joint letter. Be it further resolved that Council appoint X as chair of the working group. Be it further resolved that Council appoint Y as members of the working group. Anyone like to move this motion?
History moves.
History moves. Does anyone like to second?
Gender studies seconds.
Gender studies seconds. Is there any discussion? See some. Right, so I brought this motion forward essentially because we do need to have this letter and this campaign kickstarted. It has been some time since, and I have reached out to quite a few of the councillors who voted in favor. However, very few indicated they would be interested in actually acting upon running this campaign. So I decided that I think it would be best for us to set up a working group with designated members who will then draft this letter together and then bring it to the rest of us to approve and send off to really get this whole campaign started. I'm looking for at least 3 general members to be a part of this working group in the spirit of making sure that this is a collaborative project. We really can't have just 1 or 2 people working on it. It does need to be something that is a council-wide project. So I will be opening the floor, first of all, for motivations for chairing the working group, which essentially will be just coordinating the meeting times and chairing the meetings so that they function smoothly. So this is going to be my first call for nominations for chair of the working group. If you'd like to motivate, please unmute yourself and speak. This is the second call for nominations. I'm going to nominate myself, Zaid Lari, for chair of the working group. And this is the third and final call for nominations. All right, I'm going to move to amend the agenda to replace X with Zaid Lari. The motion will then read, whereas council passed a motion this January 6th meeting to launch a space campaign titled #Students Deserve Space, whereas the motion called upon council to write and deliver a joint letter to the respective faculties and departments of councilors who voted in favor. Be it resolved that council strike a working group on drafting the joint letter. Be it further resolved that council appoint Zaid Lari as chair of the working group. Be it further resolved that council appoint Y as members of the working group. I meant to say X earlier. Be it resolved to replace X with Zaid Lari. Anyone like to second this amendment?
Gender studies.
Gender studies seconds. There's no discussion on this amendment. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent, if you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphones now. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries. Motion now reads, whereas council passed a motion at its January 6th meeting to launch a space campaign titled Students Deserve Space, whereas the motion called upon council to write and deliver a joint letter to the respective faculties and departments of councilors who voted in favor. Be it resolved that council strike a working group on drafting the joint letter. Be it further resolved that council appoint Zaid Lari as chair of the working group. Be it further resolved that council appoint Y as members of the working group. So I'm now going to open calls for nominations for members of the working group. Just a reminder again that we do need at least 3 people to be on this group for it to be truly representative of at least a part of the members of council here who voted in favor. This is the first call for nominations. If you'd like to motivate, just unmute your mic and state your name.
I'd like to nominate myself.
Thank you, Alan. This is the second call for nominations.
I'd like to nominate myself, Kimia.
Thank you. We do need at least 1 more member from council. Gabe, would it be out of order for me to let Wei-Chun speak while I'm putting out the calls for nominations?
That's a good question. I don't know. My instinct would to say probably, but I also am aware that members of council would probably benefit from a little bit of explanation, just so if they're maybe on the fence about motivating, then they have that additional information.
Mm-hmm. If it is agreeable with everyone here, I will let Wei-Chun speak before I do the final call for nominations, just so that everyone has more information. Wei-Chun, you may have the floor.
Hey everyone, can you guys hear me okay? I'm on my phone this time.
Yep.
Hey everyone, my name is Wei-Chun, pronounce him, his. I'm the science representative who brought this campaign and worked with the MBB council rep to bring this campaign forward to council. But just kind of update on kind of the progress and what kind of work would entail with being on the working group. And the motion, it says to write a letter that will be sent to all individual departments and faculties, and we draft like a a template for a letter of agreement between departments and the DSUs for their common rooms. So I'm currently already working on a memorandum of understanding with the Faculty of Science on the Dean's Office. So that can be used as a template in the future for other DSUs as well to form a memorandum of understanding of their own between their departments and them. So yeah, just being on the working group, just drafting a letter and more so checking in with the different DSUs on the progress of like their common room, where they're at with the agreement, the conversation around if they're getting space, what kind of space they're getting and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be able to support the working group as well as best as I can. So yeah, just want to motivate people to kind of be on this working group because it is going to be a really big campaign and it's going to be really great for all the DSUs.
Thank you, Wei Chun. I'm now going to, this is now the third and final call for nominations. Any interested counselors, please speak now. We do need at least one more counselor.
Okay, Zaid, I nominate myself.
Okay. Thank you, Helen. All right, I'm going to move now to amend the agenda to replace Y with Alan Saunderson, Kimia Rezayan, and Helen Paho. Would anyone like to second this amendment?
Mathematics seconds.
Mathematics seconds. All right, I don't believe there'll be any discussion. Going to seek unanimous consent. Seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to object to this amendment, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries unanimously. The motion now reads for the final time, whereas Council passed a motion at its January 6th meeting to launch a space campaign titled #Students Deserve Space, whereas the motion called upon Council to write and deliver a joint letter to the respective faculties and departments of councillors who voted in favor. Be it resolved that Council strike a working group on drafting the joint letter. Be it further resolved that Council appoint Zaid Lari as chair of the working group. Be it further resolved that Council appoint Alan Saunderson, Kimia Rezayan, and Helen Paho as members of the working group. Is there any further discussion? Any comments? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphones now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. Thank you to everyone who motivated. I'll be in contact with you shortly to set up our meeting time. All right, moving on to item 8.2, Board and Finance and Administrative Services Committee. Motion reads, whereas each of the SFSS board committees reserves one seat for an appointed counselor to occupy, whereas the council seat on the Finance and Administrative Services Committee has become vacant. Be it resolved that Council recommend that X be appointed to the Board Finance and Administrative Services Committee. Would anyone like to move this motion?
World Literature moves.
World Literature moves. Would anyone like to second?
Mathematics seconds.
Mathematics seconds. Just a little bit of background regarding this motion. Is a little bit of an error saying that all the board committees reserve one seat for counselors, as I do believe the hiring committee does not hold a seat for counselors, but it's a little irrelevant. This motion was Corbett, the chair of the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, asked me to put this onto the agenda as the previous counselor is no longer part of council, so the seat is vacant. I would look to one of the executives to maybe elaborate a bit more on the kind of work that's going on in the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, just to give an idea for counselors. But this is really a way to have your say in a lot of the real work that's going on in the SFSS, just as I'm on the Governance Committee, I get to work on a lot of the motions that are recommended towards the board and give my input on behalf of council. This in the same vein would be your chance to give input on behalf of council and on behalf of students at one of the board committees, specifically regarding the finance and administrative services. Ms. Also, you have the floor.
Yeah, just Zayden, to answer your request for one of the board members to kind of give a background on what the committee does. Essentially, it just looks over, and you can see more about it in the board policy, the Standing Order on Finance and Administrative Services Committee, that essentially they oversee all the internal finances and all the finances of the society and the internal administrative matters. Right now, some of the things that the committee is working on is the upcoming budget for the 2021-2022 year. Some other projects that we've been working on include the participatory budgeting, which was passed by the board as well, in which students will actually be able to pick what kind of projects they want to fund, and the board will be able to allocate some money to that. So that's a pilot project that's quite cool, as it kind of brings student representation right into the financial matters of the society. And I think it's really great to have council representation on this. And slightly off topic, but I would recommend amending that typo in the motion as well, as there aren't seats on every committee for council, as some of them are just not relevant, like the executive committee, for instance. But I would just recommend fixing that as well.
Sorry, also, could you repeat where the motion reads that there is one seat for an appointed counselor on all board committees. Would you like that to be changed to, I mean, I guess that's the error, or is it true that there are seats on all committees?
Not all committees. Like I mentioned, we've got like the executive committee, which is just made up of board executives. We've got like the HR and personnel committee, which is just for internal like staffing issues. So, I mean, it's the whereas clause. So hold on, I'm just opening the motion again. So it's not the most important thing ever, but if you just want more clarity for your minutes and stuff like that, I would just recommend something like, whereas a number of SFSS board committees reserve seats for an appointed counselor to occupy, rather than all.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And that's all. Sounds like an awesome pilot project. I'm excited to see how that goes. Again, for any counselors who are interested, just as we did the preliminary kind of budget consultation presentation at our last meeting with Corbett, if you really want to get some more knowledge into the finances and inner workings of the SFSS, this is your chance. Just for clarity, I will be amending the agenda right now, though. So I'm going to move to amend the agenda to strike each and replace it with multiple. The motion would read then, whereas multiple of the SFSS board committees reserve one seat for an appointed counselor to occupy, whereas the council seat on the Finance and Administrative Services Committee has become vacant, be it resolved that council recommend that X be appointed to the Board Finance and Administrative Services Committee. Yes, I'm moving to amend the motion. So would anyone like to second this amendment?
Yes, SU seconds.
Yes, SU seconds. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Once again, just for clarity, I did make that mistake that there are a couple committees which do not have seats for counselors. Just going to quickly seek unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries unanimously. The motion now reads, whereas multiple of the SFSS board committees reserve seats, one seat for an appointed counselor to occupy, whereas the council seat on the Finance and Administrative Services Committee has become vacant, be it resolved that council recommend that X be appointed to the Board Finance and Administrative Services Committee. All right, I am now going to open the floor for nominations. This is the first call for nominations. If you'd like to motivate, please unmute and state your name. This is the second call for nominations. This is the third and final call for nominations. If you'd like to occupy the council seat on the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, please speak now. All right, I am going to move then to withdraw this motion as I am the one that put it on the agenda. And it seems that there is no interest currently for anyone to motivate. So I'm going to move to withdraw this motion. Going to seek unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, the motion has been withdrawn. All right, we're on to item 9, discussion items. Item 9.1, Senate motion on pilot undergraduate grading scheme. It's been a little bit of time since this happened. However, as attached, I did send out the document that detailed the specific motion. I wanted to open the floor for council to discuss what's happened with the pass credit, no credits for electives that's been passed by Senate. Any thoughts? If you'd like to speak on it, please list yourself in the chat. Gabe, you have the floor.
Thanks, Aid. I can provide some background on this as a whole, if that's helpful for council. Back in December, myself and a number of other board members started working to mobilize student senators and the general undergraduate student population behind the idea of asking the SFU Senate to bring back the pass-fail grading scheme that was instated back in spring 2020 as an emergency response to COVID-19. Many students were extremely disappointed when, summer 2020 came by and no new grading scheme. Fall 2020 came by, no new grading scheme. During those whole 8 months, us as board members, we were pushing for it, but really there was no real effort on the university side to have those conversations. Around the end of fall 2020, it became very clear online or otherwise that students were really struggling and were really beginning to feel the impacts of this pandemic in a way that was very new to a lot of people, whether it be mental health impacts as a result of many things. It could be range from the social isolation we're all experiencing to any form of financial burden or, it's the general global climate is just very chaotic and hard to ignore and to sit down and to be able to focus on university. And so there was a petition circulating with more than 7,000 signatures, I believe, last time I checked, urging SFU to bring back the grading scheme. So myself as a board member and also as a member of Senate, I thought that this was almost a responsibility to bring this forward. And that's what we did. We were able to mobilize students, and because students stood up and used their voice, we were actually able to get a motion on the SFU Senate agenda, jump through all the hoops of the Senate bureaucracy to get a motion on the SFU Senate agenda to bring back the grading scheme. That happened about the end of December. And as we moved into January, the Senate meeting was on January 11th. We began initiating conversations with the university. We had an initial meeting with Catherine Doverne, the VP academic, who pretty much straight up did not support the pass-fail as it was originally presented, as well as other folks like the Associate Vice President Academic Wade Parkhouse and a number of other senators who are members of the Senate Committee on Undergraduate Studies, where inevitably this needed to come from, a recommendation from. And so on Monday, January 11th was where this was being voted on. So over that entire weekend, myself and senators, student senators and members of the board were trying to work with the university on something that we knew would pass at Senate. And that's where the pass credit, no credit grading scheme came from. And it's, I'm happy to say, passed at the Senate by a pretty overwhelming majority, around, I believe, 91%, if I'm recalling correctly. So if I may continue, Zaid, I know I'm going a bit over the 2-minute limit, but I'd like to explain the grading scheme a little bit, just so council can have a thorough discussion, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Sure, thank you. So the grading scheme itself, I'd like to try and explain some of its components. And I would also like to say that the Senate Committee on Undergraduate Studies is still working on an implementation plan. So some things are still very ambiguous, but I'll tell you what I know. So it's not called pass fail anymore. It's the pass credit, no credit grading scheme. And this is a grading scheme that is used in other universities, even pre-COVID. For example, the University of British Columbia has had this grading scheme for many years as a way to encourage students to explore their options without fear of backlash on their GPA. Here's how the grading scheme works. There are 3 levels of a grade that you can opt into: a P, a CR for credit, or an NC for no credit. A pass means that you have passed your course with a grade higher than C-, and you've fulfilled the requirements to move on to a further course if that course is a prerequisite for another course. The credit option is for folks who received a D in a course, which means that you did not fulfill the requirements to move on to another course if it was a prerequisite. However, you still passed the course and you received credit for it. And of course, no credit means you failed. And you would have to retake the course if it was a prerequisite. In all 3 of those cases, they would not impact your GPA. It would not go toward your GPA calculation. Here is the kicker. The grading scheme is limited in its scope. You may only request up to 12 credits of elective courses. That's very important. Elective courses to opt into. And so that point is really important, because what we pushed for was all courses. In fact, at the Senate meeting, when this motion was being introduced, our president, Asib, who's also a member of Senate alongside me and a few other folks who were also on the board, introduced an amendment basically saying we wanted to expand it from elective courses to all courses. That amendment unfortunately failed by a 30% in favor, 70% against, which, if you think about it, is almost the exact ratio of how many students are on Senate versus faculty and admin, which is quite unfortunate that students were quite overridden by that big of a majority in Senate. So what's important to recognize, though, is that there is possibility for expansion of the grading scheme. There is a clause in the draft policy that says that individual programs and departments may choose to use the grading scheme for certain program requirements. So in those instances where those departments say, yeah, we'd like students to be able to opt into this grading scheme for major requirements, then that is allowed. Of course, still up to the 12 credit minimum. Why is that important? That's important because at this moment in time, students need a grade scheme with a much larger scope than currently exists. Our job as student leaders, as people who represent constituencies, is to work to expand this grading scheme wherever possible. So the board passed a motion at our last meeting to direct myself as VP University Relations and our faculty representatives to work to lobby individual departments and faculties to get this grading scheme expanded more, and hopefully work with you all as counselors and your student union executives to really push this work on a departmental level. So I hope that provides some background and maybe helps preface the conversation on kind of some action items that need to be undertaken. But yeah, thanks, Aid.
Thank you, Gabe. Hopefully that was informative for everyone. I know it was for me. So yeah, talking about pushing it really at the DSU level, just an example for all of you, SUS with the science faculty representative organized to have a survey sent out and emails sent out to science undergraduates, to this Faculty of Sciences administration, since they were coming to a very quick decision, only with a few days turnaround after the motion being passed, to basically decide whether they were going to expand it or not. So I think that's something that we should have all the DSUs do, really, is to work on organizing themselves within their faculties together to petition their faculty and individual departments to expand this grading scheme. I'm going to let, sorry, who else was on the list? Devin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some of the feedback I got from my DSU and my constituents regarding the scheme. I did a Instagram poll, and about 95% of the people that voted said that the program does not help them at all. I know that the SFSS Instagram also ran one. I'm not sure what the results were, but I'm pretty sure they were similar in saying, no, the program is not helpful. I did get a couple of messages from students as well, just saying that the electives really help with being able to explore new courses, which is great, but it doesn't help with the current situation in being in a pandemic, and feels like it is only benefiting a small percent of students and really leaving out upper level students who might be having a harder time just because classes tend to be harder. They just feel like also it is adding a lot of unnecessary stress to them to try to figure it out. And I know it's been noted this could put stress on advisors as well.
Thank you, Devin. Would anyone else like to speak? Please list yourself. Liz, you have the floor.
Hi there. So I brought this up with the English Student Union, and we sent an email off to the department head. And I already actually talked to Gabe about this super briefly. But our department head said that there's nothing that they could do. And I was just wondering if there's some sort of document or something that we can show him and be like, here, this is where it says that you have the power to do this. And then we can bring in student numbers like the GSWS and the Science Student Union did, and hopefully rally them that way. If not, the ESU had the idea of lobbying, the FAS, so like the faculty as a whole. So yeah, if anybody wants to message me on Discord and maybe we can talk about that a bit, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I mean, department first, but if not, go up the ranks, I guess.
Great, thank you, Liz. Kayla, you have the floor.
I am in support with starting a lobbying campaign because as a fourth year student, I have completed most of my elective by my first and second year. So I feel like 12 elective doesn't really help for my department students, which are in third or fourth year, because by then they are most likely left with core courses. If they done poorly, they will be counted towards the GPA. So I think that scheme doesn't really help from most of the students in my department, especially those in third and fourth year.
Thank you, Kayla. Very true. For those who are in their upper years, they may have maybe one elective or no credits that they can take for their electives. It's also not defined what happens for those who may change majors. There's honestly a lot of things that haven't been defined, and I think they're really leaving it up to faculties and departments to decide, and that's where us putting pressure comes in to make sure that they're expanding their definitions to something that really does benefit all of us. Just going up the list. Kyle, you have the floor.
Actually, if it's acceptable, I see Gabe has a direct response to, I believe, Liz. So if I may defer to him for that.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Gabe, you may respond.
Yeah, I just wanted to directly answer, I believe it was Liz's question about if there was a document that actually stated where, if departments were allowed to opt in. If I believe the document that was sent out with the council agenda that was also sent to Senate contains that clause, but also the draft policy that is getting approved, I believe, tomorrow by the Senate Committee on Undergraduate Studies will also have that clause in there, and then it'll go to Senate for approval. So truthfully, I'm not sure why department chairs are saying they don't have authority to do that, because they do. I think there's just a disconnect right now between the administration and faculty, and there just isn't a lot of communication happening because the implementation plan is still being developed. So truthfully, if you are hearing that from the department chairs, it's not true. They can opt into it if they would like at a departmental level.
Thank you, Gabe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's in that motion that I attached in the document. So that came along with the agenda. It should be there. Check that afterwards. But yeah, they definitely do have that ability. It does leave some of it up to their discretion. Kyle, I'll go back to you. So you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Zaid. So yeah, just from the MAB Student Union, we've already gotten in contact with like our DUC committee and also like department chairs. Specifically with regards to the DUC committee, since that meeting actually did occur this Monday, we are trying to see if we get a discussion going with that committee, and the chair of the DUC committee basically said that she was not going to add this point to discussion and that she was in support of the new grading scheme. Part of her reasons were due to necessity to protect the integrity and value of an SFU degree, which could be buried under poor grades and ill-equipped students may register into upper division courses. Also, according to her personal course experience, grade distribution has looked similar to past semesters before the pandemic.
Thank you, Kyle. Charlotte, you have the floor.
Hi, yeah. I just have like a couple comments and observations based on things that I've learned and heard about from the CRIM faculty specifically. From faculty meetings, the department heads of CRIM do not like this system at all, and they don't want to implement it, but they've obviously, they've had to do it. And I think that I heard that in the past faculty meeting for CRIM, they're drafting some sort of request to have certification, like the CRIM certificates, the required courses. So for example, for legal studies, it's CRIM 335, 338, 332. And they want those courses to not be applicable for this grading scheme because they think that students are going to strategically use the pass-fail system for getting these certificates because they're not required courses technically, but they think that they're going to do that so that they can get more certificates onto their degrees. So that was the major concern of the CRIM department. And I know that they are trying to do something with that. Another thing, just based on my running law school info sessions with pre-law and my experience researching master's and PhD programs, I think that a lot of students are concerned about what this will look like on their transcript, and I've heard mixed responses from all types of programs like masters in sciences and stuff. So for law schools, some of them, they care a lot. They say that they'll drop your GPA a certain amount based on how many no credits you took. Others say they'll just drop the entire semester. So a lot of schools, if people are, graduating soon and they don't have electives left. So I think that they should probably like understand what that means, because I know that like a lot of people that are in pre-law right now, like just speaking kind of specifically to that group, they're concerned about this because they don't know what that means for their applications when they apply to masters and law programs. And I think that for masters specifically, they are going to care a lot about your required like research courses. So yeah, I don't know. Those are just observations that I've made. Those have been the concerns of the department that have come up consistently, and the concerns of students that I've heard.
Thank you, Charlotte. Would anyone else like to speak on this? Kimia?
Hi, I just had a question of like when the deadline is to choose either pass credit or no credit, because if it's before the grades are actually released, that might have some like disconnect with what maybe students want their grades to be instead of what they actually are when they're released.
Not too sure whether that was specified or not at the Senate meeting when they discussed this. Okay.
The deadline to opt into the grading scheme would be the same day as the withdraw deadline. So right now that is week 8, but I believe this semester it's being extended to the last day of classes. So for this semester, the last day, once it's implemented, the last day to opt into the grading scheme will be the last day of classes, regularly scheduled classes.
Thank you, Gabe. Awesome.
Thanks, Aid. And this might quell some of the concerns around, graduate schooling, et cetera. But of course, as with the pass-fail this is going to be optional. So students who, well, there are a couple of things that have been in conversation at Senate as well around like the recognition that this is a COVID semester in particular, along with, next semester and the previous semesters. But I think a big thing is that it is optional. If you are taking the pass credit, no credit option, you kind of have to weigh that, I think, in terms of your professional schooling, because there are a lot of students who don't end up going into professional schooling and just need to get the degree that they have now. And there are the other students who may have a different plan. So it's not by any means necessary for a student to pick this, but more so an option for students who do need it.
Thank you, Asa. Are there any other comments? If anyone else like to list, please do so now. Devin?
Yeah, I was just curious if a channel could be made in the discourse for this discussion.
Yeah, definitely. I'll make one. We can continue discussion there. It's final opportunity for anyone who would like to speak on this item. Please list yourself, otherwise we'll be moving on. Gabe?
Yeah, just as a final note, I just want to say, if this is something, if expanding the scope of this grading scheme is something you support and your student union support, I highly recommend you and your executive take some time to communicate with your department on why this is so important. Take some time to write a letter with your department chair or set up a meeting, or any type of communication with your department is really key here. A lot of departments will not do this on their own. They need student voices at the table to help them make this decision or to push them in the right direction of this decision. Jennifer made a really amazing doc outlining why pass-fail is so important. Listing, it's like 20 pages long with references. So I'll find it, I'll put that in the chat. And once Zaid makes that Discord channel, I'll also paste it there. But I really want to encourage counselors to take this advocacy up at a departmental level. And of course, if you have any questions or need any support, I'm here to help with that. And our communicate with your faculty rep on the board too. They've all been tasked by the board to help out in this way. So really, really important stuff.
Thank you, Gabe. All right, I think we're going to move on now to Charlotte. Would you like to have one last word?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to reply to what Gabe and Asab said. I entirely agree that it should be their choice and they should be fully informed. I just meant more so on the people that haven't really, they don't understand the context of it or anything. Like, to be honest, I didn't entirely understand what this grading scheme meant until it was explained in this meeting. I haven't chosen to take a no credit, but one of my friends last semester did, or when it was, when you could take it for required classes, she took one without knowing that it was going to have an impact on how second master's programs looked at it. So I think that there just are some students that don't understand. That's all that I meant, but I entirely agree that they should have the freedom and they should have the access to the information. I think that some just maybe are a bit confused about it.
Thank you, Charlotte. All right, I think we're going to move on now to item 9.2. I'm also going to move to amend the agenda to include the discussion item titled Burnaby Mountain Gondola Project. Would anyone like to second this amendment?
Mathematics seconds.
Mathematics seconds. Not looking for any discussion, don't see any. All right, going to vote, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, amendment carries. All right, item 9.2, Transition Steering Committee Working Groups. I believe we were put this item on for some updates regarding the working groups and to get some counselors involved. Gabe or Asab, if either of you would like to speak on this, you have the floor.
Sure, I can speak to it. So again, I did mention it briefly in my update, but I will mention it again. So there are three first of all, the Transition Steering Committee was established by the board to help with the transition from the old bylaws to the new bylaws to really ensure that the new system, once it takes effect, is strong and there are strong processes in place for it to really be successful. There are three working groups that the committee struck to help execute this work. The first one is the governance working group, which has been tasked with reviewing all relevant policies to kind of transform it from SFSS board policies to SFSS council policies, as council will be the new board of directors. I'm the chair of this one. And there are about, I believe, including myself, 3 people. Me being one of them, and one counselor, I believe it's Ryan V, and one student union executive. So there's definitely a lot of room for counselors to be, yeah, Ryan says it to me. There is definitely a lot of room for counselors to become involved in this working group if you would like. And I can give more information on that if you have any questions. The second working group is the Training and Communications Working Group, chaired by our VP Finance, Corbett. And really, arguably, this is, in my opinion, is one of the most important working groups. And it's all about establishing clear and efficient training structures so that incoming counselors, whether that be at the beginning of the board term, in the middle of the board term, or, throughout the year, are equipped with proper knowledge, training, and really the ability to actually, awareness of why this new system exists, the power they have to hold the executive accountable, and all the checks and balances of the new system. And sorry, could someone repeat the full name of it? Yeah, so the full name is the Training and Communications Working Group. I can type that in the chat. communication working group. And the third one is the operations working group. And this is chaired by our president, Asib. And this is all about looking at what new operational processes need to be implemented for this new system to succeed, whether that be, well, mainly I think it'll be looking at, do we have the staff support necessary to support this new council, and whether or not, we need to create new positions, staff positions, or amend existing positions, and also probably looking at any necessary changes to administrative policies, which look at operations. So, so the training working group, I believe, has about 4 or 5 folks, one or two counselors, and about 1 student union executive, I believe. And the operations working group consists of Asib, 1 counselor, and 1 student union executive. So all 3 working groups, there's a lot of room for you folks to get involved if you would like to, and I highly encourage you all to get involved if you would like. They all have their own meeting times, and they meet based on everyone's availability. So yeah, I'll pass it back to Zaid, but if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Gabe. Would anyone like to speak on this? If you have any questions or comments, please list yourself. This is a great opportunity to get involved, especially with the transition towards our new governance structure. Really, it is important that we have more counselors here to give more input, more voices, to get more people involved. I know that I'll be getting involved with at least one of these groups to help with the transition. And I believe I already made a Discord channel, so we can have more discussion and information posted there regarding specific meeting times. Yeah. So anything anyone would like to say? Yes, Helen?
Yeah, thank you, Zaid. I just want to support, just put my support in for what, Zaid was saying and Gabe was saying about making sure that counselors get involved with TSC, with Transition Steering Committee. I've only been to one of the meetings. It was like the very beginning of them. And then now we have the working groups and whatnot, but it is so helpful in getting to understand what is it going to be like next semester under this new system. And I would highly encourage counselors who are planning to stay on for another year on council. Some of us won't be here to be a part of the changes, but for those who are going to stay and be a part of those changes, get on board and understand what's happening. Because it's going to be you that will be affected by it, and by proxy of you, your DSU as well will be affected by all these changes that we've implemented. So please, please, please do get on board, reach out to Gabe, anyone that can answer your questions. And actually, I have a question as well regarding training. Board members, do any of you guys know what kind of training methods you guys are implementing to get counselors up to speed in terms of the changes for next semester? Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Gabe, you have a direct response.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Helen. There are multiple different methods we're looking at in terms of how counselors, get trained, and that knowledge is really passed on from counselor to counselor, whether it be, a counselor serves the full term, or, I expect there might be a lot of turnover on the new council because new council reps are coming in and out. So, the important thing to emphasize is that council representatives under the new system, for all intents and purposes, are board members. Like what you think right now of who board members are and what they do and what their duties are, council representatives now have those duties, as council is the legal board of directors. So let's start the conversation with that in mind. With being a legal director, the director of a society, comes a lot of fiduciary responsibility. You have a duty care to the society. So there's a lot of training you need to know right off the bat. So at the beginning, just like the board does right now, you can expect a lot of initial training on, what is the Societies Act, the main piece of legislation that allows us to exist as a nonprofit? What are the duties of a director generally? What is effective governance? How is our organization structured? And a variety of other topics. Now, the board this year and for many, many years has had development sessions spread out throughout the year. So we have board meetings every 2 weeks on Fridays, but every alternating Friday, we have what's called development sessions. And each development session is a different topic that is relevant to our job as board members. So for example, we've done workshops on anti-racism and colonialism and systems of oppression. We've done workshops on, what is our collective agreement? How does it work? How do you apply the collective agreement to certain situations? So you can expect that council will also have those development sessions as well under this new system. Now, the thing that is important, what I mentioned before, is that I expect a lot of turnover on council just due to the nature of this being a new system and people getting a grasp on the new role. So we're also looking at, can we implement Canvas courses for those folks, who might come in throughout the year, and we need to get them on, get on board them right away. So there's a lot of, I think, moving parts and a lot of details that are being discussed, but hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of some of the methods in which counselors and members of the executive committee can and will be trained under the new model.
Thank you, Gabe. That's actually an interesting idea. Regarding the Canvas courses specifically, I've seen how they've been implemented for club executives, and I think they're pretty helpful. So I think it might be something really worth exploring for council representatives in the future, as I do agree, I'm expecting there to be some turnover next year or next term. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Helen?
Yeah, I'm just putting myself back on the list again. And Gabe, thanks again for that explanation. You mentioned about development sessions. And I think that is so helpful if we can get a few development sessions in before the next semester with the new system and change. I think for me, and I bet for some other counselors in council right now, yes, it's a very exciting time, but there's also still questions in the air about what are we going to expect under these new changes? How are our roles going to be affected? In what ways? Am I doing more? Am I doing less? Most likely we are going to be doing more than what we do right now. So maybe if we can get a few development sessions in before the beginning of next semester, I think everyone's going to really benefit from that. So we all don't go in with blind eyes. We have some clarity. We have some confidence in ourselves before we take on any of the bigger changes and roles and whatnot. So yeah, that's my suggestion to that.
Thank you, Helen. Before I hand it over to Gabe again, I think part of the reason we're talking about having the development sessions more next semester is that after the elections, which are supposed to happen for all the DSUs for counselors, as many of us may either not run again or may not be elected again, it might be better spent having some of those development sessions with the next board. But I do see a bit of a point with it might be useful to have some of us know with a bit more knowledge beforehand, before we start that next term as the board of directors. So I'm just going to hand it over. Gabe, you have a direct response.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, yeah, you absolutely can expect council reps to have more responsibility and to be required to take on more duties as the legal board of directors of the society. So that point is so important, and I can't emphasize that anymore. On the points of communication, though, that's very key, and that's actually what the transition steering committee governance working group will be working on, is and the training and communications working group, I suppose, is getting this communication out to student unions before the new council term starts, so that folks are aware of all of these details. That's something the governance working group will be working on. In terms of training, just like board members do now, councilors will get training on how to do their duties before their term starts. So usually, I believe council elections end around early to mid-March. So in those weeks leading up to the start of the official council term, you receive training in that kind of transition period. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Gabe. That does make it clear for me. I kind of forgot that we do have those ahead of the next term. Helen, you have the direct response.
Yeah, I do. And actually, it's more of a, not necessarily a direct response, but more like just something to chime in to what you were saying, Zaid. And Gabe, thank you again for clarifying a lot of things. Yeah, why I'm just really adamant about making sure that even current counselors right now have the training is that, you know, for example, if some of us are going to be leaving before next semester and we have new counselors come in, new counselors into a new system, my worry is that they may feel intimidated. They may feel uncomfortable. They need to have someone beside them to help guide them through it. And it's going to be the counselor before them in their DSU. So if I'm leaving, I want to make sure that the next PSSU counselor is going to have a great time and a smooth transition. And I want to be there to help them make sure they live up to their duties under this new change. So this is why I'm just really adamant that even current counselors right now, whether they're staying or whether they're leaving, they understand what's happening so that they can help and be leaders for their people who are going to succeed them.
Thank you, Helen. Fair point. I'm going to let Kayla speak, and then we'll probably move for adjournment. Kayla, you have the floor.
Yes, so I do have a question regarding the new council, because I am a fourth-year student and I might be graduating by next January. As a person that is thinking about running, is there a requirement that we have to stay for the whole term, or can we leave midway? So just want to ask that before I decide whether running or not.
Probably going to let Gabe answer this one, but I'm pretty sure that relates to being a member of the SFSS in good standing, but I'll let Gabe elaborate there.
So if usually under this new system, if you're planning on running for council, you should aim to serve the full year, just as you know, members of the board now are usually elected and expected to serve a full year. In the event, and this happens in years previous and probably will happen in the future, if you are planning on graduating in the middle of your term, then you would just be expected to resign, and your student union would have to hold a by-election.
All right, we're at 6:02 p.m. now, so I'm going to move us forward. Announcements, next council meeting is February 17th. Going to move to item 12, adjournment. 12.1, be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:03 p.m. Would anyone like to move?
Mathematics moves.
Mathematics moves. Would anyone like to second?
FNSA seconds.
FNSA seconds. Any discussion? Don't think so. Going to move to vote. Seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.